Hi. So, I wanted to give you guys an 8-month update, and I wanted to kind of give some tips about programming with your DRG. 8 months update. So, I am doing really well. The DRG has probably taken away about 50% of my pain. I had the surgery last May. It's January 2020. At first, I didn't notice a huge difference. If you've seen the previous videos, this is my second DRG surgery. My first DRG surgery, immediately I noticed a reduction in my pain, and it went really smoothly. The surgery did. I had huge amounts of pain coming out of the surgery, but once all of that kind of went away, I had great success with the DRG, the reduction in my pain. However, I had a lot of vibrations around the battery, and due to the unforeseen event of jumping right into a car and driving 5 hours after my first surgery, the leads dropped out of my T17, T8 area. One lead right away dropped back down towards where the battery was. And then about 2.5 months later, the second lead fell. And immediately I had an increase of pain, and it was terrible. A year later, after my insurance finally decided I could get a revision, I was in a wheelchair and not being able to do anything, needing a ton of help. I went back in for the surgery. And that surgery went really well. I got ketamine. So this is the second surgery. This was last May 2019. And I stayed up where I had the surgery. It's about 5 hours from where I actually live. I stayed up there for 10 days. The surgery went really well. Everything went great. However, I didn't have that immediate pain reduction. Once everything from the surgery, all the pain from the surgery actually wore off, I took it really easy for about 3 months, but I was in and out of the hospital. I still had a ton of pain from my CRPS. My CRPS is, I have an entrapped nerve in my abdomen, and my CRPS, during the time in between my surgeries, it had spread throughout my abdomen, and I had a ton of pain. And I ended up down at Stanford and talking to all these specialists. Well, so for the summer, I was really nervous because I thought, oh my gosh, the DRG just isn't working for me. But slowly I started getting better. And through this time, it took a long time. But I would say in September, I started to notice a difference. And then it just slowly has started working. And it probably worked, it worked right away, but I noticed the relief. It was like this gradual thing. And right now, currently, I am able to work out 4 days a week. I take spin classes. I have just painted my house. I can grocery shop, which I wasn't able to do before, and do housework, which I wish I wasn't able to do. But yeah, and I do everything with modifications, and I still rest throughout the day for about an hour. But my life looks totally different, and it probably takes about, I would say, 50-60% of my pain away. I also have included a lot of other things. I began ketamine treatments, and I do some other PT and stuff like that. But I would say that I use the DRG. I mean, the DRG has been pretty amazing for me. So I'm going to show you some stuff I learned along the way. Because my DRG is put in a unique location, and maybe it's not as unique now, but it's in the lower right side of my back, and the leads go up pretty high. I haven't, my DRG rep doesn't modify my program very often, and she's kind of just left it alone. I have been extremely careful with everything. I know a lot of people go in and see their DRG rep really often, which is wise. I mean, but for me, I've kind of just kind of figured it out on my own, maybe because the first time I went in so often and I kept explaining what was going on, and they didn't think that the leads had fallen, and I was like, no, I really think something's weird here. And so it was kind of a weird process, and so now I've just kind of listened to my body and I figured it out. So this is what really works for me. When you have DRG surgery, you're going to get an iPad, and I know this is just going to be a blue screen, but they're going to give you, not an iPad, sorry, an iPod, and they're going to give you a setting for it. And on this, you're going to connect and everything, and you're going to see all these things. What I have learned and what's really worked for me is the program they give you. You can work with your DRG rep if you start hurting or your program you don't think is working for you. You can go in and they can set you up with a new program. When they set you up with the new program, you can also keep your original program, and they can give you a second program, so that if your second program you create doesn't end up working the way you hoped, you can go back to your first program. That's one thing I didn't know the first time going in, that you might want to consider. The other thing I didn't know is when you go to change your strengths, because you can change your strengths, you can go up on a lead or down on a lead. You want to only go up by a couple, right? A couple of strengths, or down by a couple of strengths. And when you go up by a couple of strengths, I only go up by 2, or I go down by 2. And when I go up by 2, I leave them there for a week. I don't touch them. And when I determine I need to go up, it's usually after I've been doing something physical. If my nerve or my area that the DRG is at starts to hurt. So if I've been doing a spin class for a couple days and all of a sudden that area really, really hurts, I decide, okay, I'm going to go up on my DRG. I go up and I leave it there. And I leave it there for a good week to see if, okay, that really helps my DRG. Now, if I go up and for 3 or 4 days it still continues to hurt, then I go up again. But if I go up again and it doesn't relieve any of my pain, then I go back down, and I go back down by 2. Now, if I am not doing anything physical, and I'm just telling you what works for me. If all of a sudden I'm not doing anything physical for days, and all of a sudden I realize, oh my gosh, this area really hurts, and this has been consistent for days, not like you just have a flare all of a sudden. And I realize, oh, this really hurts all of a sudden. For days it's been hurting. I go down. I go down by 2. I go down by 2, and then I leave it there. When you go up and down, it's like you're stressing out that area of your body. You're just stressing it out. And then you'll find that it's like working that area, and it's going to get pissed. So just leave it there for a little bit and let it get used to the program before you start switching it all up. And that way you kind of know what you're doing. Also track everything you change for a while so that you know what works for you. If all of a sudden you're feeling, hey, this is zinging over here, like I kept telling them, hey, for some reason I'm feeling this vibrating, and they were checking my battery and checking, they're like, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. Well, it was because the lead had fallen, and it was falling, and the vibration was because the lead was right next to the battery, vibrating the battery. So, and I had written it down, and we were, but nothing was coming up on their iPad, and nothing was coming up, and everything looked fine. So while you're working with all this stuff, if anything feels weird, or you're noticing, okay, when I go down here, this is happening, or this is happening, if you're changing your programs, hey, this program to this program, this really worked, but this didn't really work. This is in your body, and this is yours. So just make sure that you know what you like and what works for you. These little things, they really work for me. If I'm not active and all of a sudden it starts aching, it's because it's getting too much vibrations on that nerve. And so when I go down, it totally relieves my pain, because it's not being, that area of my body is not being stimulated. It doesn't need that much vibrations. Also, my DRG rep thought, oh, you might be just getting better. That's why it's getting overstimulated. And she said that happens all the time. That area of the body, once you get a DRG on it, it actually can get really, it can just heal itself. So you might keep that in mind. The lower you go, and throughout this process, one time about 3 months ago, I was down to 2 on one area. Now I'm up to 17. It's just because back then I wasn't working out, I wasn't doing anything like that. Closer to the surgery, when they first put it on, I was really low. Now that I'm working out and I'm more physical, I'm a lot higher up on my DRG settings. The program she tried me on, at first it felt like it was relieving pain and it was working. Then I gave it a couple more weeks, and it was like, oh, this is really, really hurting. So then I switched it back to the original program, and immediately I felt better, and I was like, oh my gosh, that compared to this is actually the one I need to be on. And so I just switched it back, and I've been on this program for a month and a half now. So just I mean, this is the human body. This is a new kind of thing. You gotta switch it up, so just keep those things in mind as you're working on this. Anybody too out there that has had the DRG for a while, talk to them, see what they've been trying out. But so far, this has been great. There's other things I've also used now. Ketamine has been a huge help, and so I might do some videos on that. I've started neurofeedback, and that's been a huge help. Just getting stronger has been a huge help. So changing my diet has been really good. Little things I've been doing here and there, but I can definitely say DRG, hey, I'm walking. So yeah, thanks and good luck. Bye.